What if Archaludon was in Gen 1 OU? I am very thankful for this thing's existence, because I thought the Duraludon was a horrible design, especially for one being used by a competent trainer. But speaking of competent, this thing is already pretty good in Gen 9. You know, just a little bit, enough to get banned. But would it also get banned in Gen 1? Considering that its typing is inherently way more busted? Yeah, probably. But let's go over in the more detail, because if I just ended the video like that, you probably wouldn't be too entertained. So right off the bat, this thing's stats are just actually insane, and its lowest stat is the same number as Snorlax's special. So we are off to a great start, aren't we? 90 HP, really good, 130 defense. Lower than Cloyster, so kind of garbage to be honest. But yeah, obviously that's really good. 125 special attack, also good. But strangely enough, you don't have too many, like, special moves that you can take advantage of. I was honestly really surprised to see this thing didn't have any Bolt Beam coverage. Only Thunderbolt. And obviously its signature. So I guess that's fine. But I guess in a weird way, it kinda balances it out. Even though it's not really that balanced. Obviously in both Gen 1 and in regular Gen 9, this is way too good. But still, it's an interesting choice. And 85 speed. Yeah, of course, a Pokemon based off a bridge is gonna have a good speed stat. Like, why? I just don't get that whatsoever. Granted, if this thing had less speed but more special bulk, that's just disgusting. But still, like, I don't really get it. But all these stats on anything would be good. I'm convinced that if you put these stats on, I think the only thing that wouldn't make it work would be like bug flying exactly. But outside of that, basically any combination of types would, I would probably say would make this work. But then you have 105 attack. And guess what? You have Sword Stance. So you know Baxcalibur, the video I did yesterday? Yeah, you can step that aside, because this is easily the bulkiest Sword Stance user we have ever gone over. Doesn't have as high as HP, and also its special defense is nowhere near as good. But you make that up by having much better resistances, because you have the Steel type. You resist both Psychic and Normal, which Baxcalibur can't do. You're still neutral to Ice, so your Dragon weakness isn't really taken advantage of. And then outside of that, you basically have most of the other resistances that Baxcalibur has. Unfortunately, you do have a ground weakness, but in a weird sense, you also have a Dragon neutrality, which Baxcalibur doesn't have. I suppose you can debate in the comments which one would be better, as well as which one would be the better and bulkier Sword Stance user. But I'm probably going to put my money on Archaludon. But it really doesn't matter, because insane stats and really good move pool, and while 105 isn't as good as its special attack, it doesn't matter. With one Sword Stance, Hyper Beam nukes basically everything, and Earthquake is already great coverage, and Thunderbolt is good for things like Starmie and Slowbro. And guess what? You have high special attack and high speed, so you have a great crit rate. So things like Starmie can't even, like, recover on you, because you just threaten to destroy them with a single critical Thunderbolt. Surprisingly, I don't have as much to say here. But again, I just went over Baxcalibur yesterday, which you should definitely check out after watching this video if you're interested. But so many of the things I said there apply here. Surprisingly fast, can always get a Sword Stance off. Super dangerous in the late game when everything's paralyzed. I just don't have too much to add here, so let's just get straight on to the replays. Starting off with the boy himself, we got Tauros. The one thing I did mention that I should probably go into more detail here is the fact that a ground weakness actually is kind of a big deal. As you can see here, even with your super high defense, Tauros still 3-hit KOs you. And we're not done with Earthquake weaknesses yet, because we're going to see the exact same thing with Snorlax, but to an even worse degree. With Tauros, you're risking getting 2-shot with a crit, and Snorlax is just too bulky. Way too bulky for you to deal with. There's not much you can really do here. So, for both of them, it's just pretty bad. And I guess in that sense, you can say that Baxcalibur would be better in Gen 1, because you don't have a Earthquake weakness. But at the same time, Archaludon, with its Steel typing, also has plenty of other super safe switch-ins. So I don't know. Either way though, like, one thing that is good though is when you can safely set up a Sword Stance against something like a Chansey, you're literally the most dangerous thing in the game. And even a Tauros or a Snorlax does not want to deal with you if you get a single Sword Stance up. Once that happens, basically everything is cooked. And while we watch Alakazam fail to do anything to Archaludon, let me just quickly say, I did consider its signature move. I didn't put it in the final moveset, because Thunderbolt is way more consistent. And the reason why I didn't even entertain it, even though the idea of raising special attack could be interesting, is solely because Rhydon is by far your best counter. And Rhydon getting an easy switch in is never a good idea. So you should probably just go for Thunderbolt instead. But next up we have Cloyster. Now, you unfortunately don't own Coet, and if Cloyster gets a crit, it does a lot of damage to you. But at the same time, you have a better crit rate than he does. But I suppose... I think I have this in good matchup, but looking at the replay again, I definitely say it could go either way. Although both can like hacks each other, but it's definitely in Archaludon's favor. Next up we have Exeggutor. And I'm not sure how to rank this one, because obviously you resist Psychic. And for this replay here, Exeggutor probably should have won. But at the same time, this is an Exeggutor set that was using Psychic, Double Edge, Stun Spore, and Explosion. And when would you ever use Exeggutor without, what's it called, Sleep Powder? So I don't really know. I'm pretty sure under normal movesets, you can kind of just do really well against Exeggutor with them not able to break you. But at the same time, you definitely would use Earthquake over your other physical moves, so you only have Hyper Beam to really hurt Exeggutor with. I'm still pretty sure this is a good matchup, since at the end of the day, Eggy just can't hurt you at all. I don't know, it's kind of weird. What isn't weird, though, is your matchup against Gengar. You pretty comfortably take this, with Gengar having no way of hurting you. Because Nightshade is whatever, and Explosion, Psychic, and Thunderbolt are all resisted. It is hilarious. Now, Jolteon is... I think Jolteon... I was going to say has it even worse, but... That's not true! You can critical double kick! And ironically, even with your super high defense, that still might be better than going for Thunderbolt since you resist that anyways. But I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Jolteon just gets absolutely murdered. Now, who doesn't get murdered though is Jinx. Oh my gosh, this match is so close. And to be honest, Jinx might have the advantage. Like, I'm pretty sure the crit on Hyper Beam might have mattered there. But I don't think it matters too much, because Jinx, either way, is up that either super low HP or just falling dead. Both of them really hate the matchup. Also, if in case you're wondering if it's better to go for Sword Stance or for Earthquake, I'm going to say probably not. Because I think what you need to do if you're Archaludon is, because of your speed stat, I think you're better off just going straight for Earthquake and hoping for the crit. Trying to fish for at least one crit. Otherwise, you do lose the Rhydon, and it's not very pretty. Now, I was originally going to have a replay where I was going to have Archaludon set up Sword Stance, because what's it going to do? Be scared of Amnesia? But it doesn't matter, because I forgot you already have super high special attack, a good crit rate, and Thunderbolt. So yeah, you don't even need to set up against Slowbro. Slowbro is just cooked from the beginning. And yes, I find that pretty funny. Now, Starmie, I think I already talked about this. Its coverage doesn't matter too much. Only Blizzard you can use to actually deal damage to Archaludon. And it doesn't matter because Archaludon can just threaten to OHKO you with a crit anyways. So Starmie, there's like nothing you can do. One thing I would like to say while looking at this pitiful Victory Bell replay, just like with Excalibur yesterday, even though you don't really enjoy your matchups with Snorlax and Tauros, Archaludon is absolutely a fantastic partner to them. And that's even more so here, because unlike Excalibur, you actually have Thunderbolt access. So if Excalibur can set up Sword Stance and fight against Chansey and Starmie no problem, Archaludon is a more immediately threatening to something like Starmie. And because you're defensive typing, you can switch into normal and psychic moves, which are definitely moves that both Snorlax and Tauros don't like being hit with. So that in of itself is probably a justifiable reason to put Archaludon in Ubers. Because even if it doesn't do well against Tauros and Snorlax anyways, that's not really its problem. It's more so, well, a bridge to, let Tauros go to the other side. Just trample over Starmie, Alakazam, and whatever. Now, normally, after Zapdos, this is where the video ends. But since this is a Patreon requested video by Zach and Theist, we're going to go over 3 more Pokemon that I think could be pretty interesting and make sense thematically to go over. If you would like to support me, feel free to support the Patreon yourself. Although obviously I'll still do videos every day regardless. I also have a Discord server, and in the Discord server, we like to host tournaments and have formats that are based on my what if videos. We love to have you. Now obviously we gotta put up against Dragonite, the other dragon type. And it's kinda weird. You guys only have Thunderbolt and Blizzard to hit each other with. Although Archaludon technically has a good advantage since it has Sword Stance and stronger Hyper Beam. Well, it can resist Dragonite's normal moves. But at the same time, Dragonite's immune to Earthquake, so yeah, that's, I don't know, just a quick either way, and one where both kind of hate the matchup. Now, there's more than one Sword Stance user, and I think Sandslash would be the most interesting, given how bad Archaludon's matchup is against Rhydon. When both of you have an Earthquake, Sandslash gets stupidly close to killing. Like, that's probably a damage range, if I had to guess. But at the same time, Sword Stance, and then Earthquake and Hyper Beam, more than enough to kill a Sandslash. So could go either way. And we're not done with could go either ways, because now we have Lapras. And both of you have good damage moves against each other. Blizzard and Thunderbolt are roughly doing the same. Both are 3-hit KO. Archaludon has a better crit chance, but Lapras has a chance to freeze. So I don't think one Pokemon has a distinct advantage over the other. But that's about it. And here is the tier list. Now, Cloyster, I think, needs to get moved to could go either way. But even then, look at this. Half the things in could go either way aren't even, a meta Pokemon. They're just 3 Pokemon that sometimes get used that I decided to include. Yeah, Archaludon dominates. I think this is better than the tier was yesterday with Excalibur. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that this thing would get banned. But I don't think anyone was really, fighting against that. Here's the question though. Do you think Hisuian Goodra would be better? Because it does have actual book blink coverage, but no Sword Stance. Let me know in the comments below. But until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.